So, good afternoon and welcome to the fourth podcast, or more or less, I would say business talk with Last Mile. Today, we have one of our first vendors, a guest who is not only a consultant but also a business owner, and who is the marketing guru in the space in Frankfurt, Philip Guth. And I'd just like to thank you so much for joining us today and to share about your business, Wilson and Oscar, and also to share some tips with us of what not only brought you to the space of starting your own company, but also what encourages you and inspires you to more or less help other companies to develop their own business. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me. It's a real pleasure.
Yes. So tell me more about Wilson and Oscar and what drove you to start.
I'd have to go all the way back, but so in very short, so what inspired us really is that we saw, in a very humble way to say, a better way to do business than what the vast majority of companies and corporations today are doing. And specifically, what I mean is, so we're basically at a point in society where we have billionaires that decide that it's their best, the best use of their time and money to actually build space companies to leave this planet and, leave it behind. And I personally believe that there is a better way to deal with this, and I think it's not beyond recovery, and that there are better ways of doing business. And basically, that's what we're just trying to build. So we have a kind of this vision of an ecosystem for the B2B world, where we provide services that are actually, to someone being in touch with Wilson Oscar and either buying something from us or getting a service from us, they won't even notice. But so our aspiration is to make that as good as we can, while we, on the back end, take care that everything's sustainable. And I'm very sure, and actually that's what the last 1.5, 2 years have been proving, that we can actually make this happen, and we have built a sizable business by now. And so basically our ambition is to build as large of a business as we can, in order to then convert entire supply chains to be more sustainable.
Yeah, that's a pretty. I love how vast your vision is and how big you're looking forward to where you want to take your company and actually what is inspiring you. One of when we first met in terms of talking as a spring, like working together with Last Mile and Wilson and Oscar, it was really cool to see how locally focused you were, and in some ways I didn't at first see your B2B business, but immediately I saw the B2C business. How did that evolve?
So, at our very core, we say we make people happy and we keep our planet healthy. And so that's why we have stayed, let's say, true to our North Star, even when we were reset at the very beginning of COVID, because what we originally built was an in-office solution, which, as you may be able to imagine, was not exactly the right fit to how the conditions evolved over the past 2 years. And so basically, the basic idea behind it is that we want to make corporate people's lives easier. And everything we built was always aimed towards that. And again, so before COVID, that was an in-office solution. And then we had obviously to completely shift all of this. And so we essentially went 2 steps back and then designed everything we did in terms of value propositions, products, around the struggles and pains of people that they had in the home office, on the one hand, and on the other hand, around companies, because they have obviously the ambition to provide a better working environment for the people, right?
Yeah.
And so we're at this interesting intersection that technically we're a B2B service, but the people that purchase and that actually get in touch with us, they are, let's say, at least a decent part of them are more in a kind of a B2C mindset, because they're kind of purchasing something for their team rather than something like, let's say, an ERP system. So what we provide is we provide team events, we provide care packages for these team events. And so basically when someone says, hey, I need to make some event happen for my 30 people team, and I need care packages to have either something like drinks if it's an after-work event, or breakfast supplies if it's a breakfast event, or even something to be productive during a remote workshop. They're looking at it, or they're behaving very similar as a customer in the B2C environment. So that's the B2C part, even though they're purchasing on behalf of a company, which is obviously a B2B setup. And so it's really interesting to see this intersection, how these two basically interact.
Yes, you mentioned it's really interesting because when stepping into your shop, especially during the time you gave it was really in part of Frankfurt where it's a cozy atmosphere, very welcoming, and that's something that you definitely feel. And then when I saw the packages that you guys built in terms of the home office packages, it was something that really it got me excited because I could definitely see how you were targeting people who were at home, who especially in Corona, that may not have had it was probably targeted for the right change in mindset from employees who would have been stuck at home but still wanting that team environment. So how did Corona affect your business?
Yeah, as I said, so obviously we had to completely transform it, right? So I mean, again, so the initial North Star of connecting people and making it easy for them to connect and be productive and be happy while doing it. And um, this is basically what remained. And then we completely had to re-engineer it, going back to looking at the new world from a person being quote unquote stuck at home, and what kind of struggles arose there. So it was really, I mean, from a value proposition perspective, we remained very much the same, even though the actual product completely changed. Obviously, from in office to remote.
Yes.
And so it really affected us that we had, I mean, basically had to get really good at very quickly going through a trial and error cycle. Because obviously, in early and mid 2020, it was completely unclear what was actually going on. I mean, most companies had never worked remotely, really. And even those that did, they were now forced to completely work remotely. I mean, I have a consulting background, so I'm very much accustomed to working remotely. Nevertheless, even while having a decent part of remote work, you typically also met at the client's office, right? Or back at your home office. And so that new kind of forced setup where everybody was remote, even for those people that were used to it, was difficult. And then especially for the companies that had never worked remotely before.
Okay. So would you say that you would have had like a aha moment with one of your customers to say that okay, now we're on the right track, or it's like one time that like we're in the right spot, we're in the right lane now based on some feedback or some way you would have communicated to them?
Absolutely. So it was actually in the very early days. So the first care packages really designed were completely focused on workshops and trainings, because we thought that's the one big case people, especially those that are used to, I mean, either working on site or working in formats on site. So something like a brainstorming workshop. Even for those working remotely, they would, even before COVID, mostly actually meet in person for those. And so our hypothesis was that this was the big case of getting people productive in these sorts of, let's say, situations where they were almost exclusively working on site before COVID. So we completely focused on that. And the big aha moment was when, I can't say if it's the first, the second, or third customer, but I mean, literally the first 3, 4, 5 orders we had last year, actually in 2020, that was end of 2020, they all asked us if we can take out all the workshop materials and add drinks. So we were like, okay, guys, how are you drinking beer in a workshop? And so it turned out that those were actual team events. And so that was really an aha moment that apparently, yes, the productive formats shifted. So we still do quite a bit of trainings and workshop supplies. But also the social part was really important to keep alive. And that's where we derived a lot of our new care packages from.
Okay, so it's more about the bonding than anything else being productive. That okay, because people already see the PowerPoints, people already see the Microsoft Docs or whatever the case may be. They want actually that exchange.
Yeah, absolutely.
What do you see as the future for Wilson and Oscar?
Yeah, I mean, we're pretty much staying on course in the sense that we're obviously very much focused on keeping people connected, happy, and productive. And so we have covered quite a few quote unquote use cases that they now have. And we see that, so in other words, what we're essentially doing is we're delivering exactly what you need to be productive and connected at the time when you need it, right? And so we see that there's more cases in the home office. And I'm talking both food and non-food articles, so I can definitely see us expanding into something like, let's say, a bit further down the line, a desk, or, I mean, there's many, I mean, basically your entire setup in the home office is something that a lot of people still don't have. It can be supplies, and then obviously further down the line also we're already looking into hybrid and also even on-site formats, because obviously you can expand from something that is a remote event to an on-site event, because for example, when we were talking supplies or even materials for people that need them right now but not typically, then it may be useful to deliver those at the exact time when they need them. So yeah, we have quite a full pipeline, let's say, of ideas and things that are already work in progress around being productive.
That's pretty exciting. I'd love to see the world that you guys envision in terms of enhancing total productivity with from being from home, working from home, and also I can imagine a lot of your products, actually some of even the ones that are branded Wilson and Oscar, I could see as being just packages people can even send on a weekly basis to be almost um, whether it be breakfast packages. Well, you guys have breakfast packages, you have lunch packages, and you have evening packages. I could see that already fitting into someone's daily work and health routine in terms of a healthy work environment, you know?
Absolutely. And again, it's actually a good example of how we're operating, because again, we already have customers that actually order for their employees on a regular basis. I mean, usually it's a monthly, but some even want it bi-weekly, some more rarely. And it's something like, especially in companies where people were used to a fruit basket in the office. I mean, there's some companies that offer delivering the fruits at home, but it's not usually, turned back quickly. And that's where we came in and offered them something, for example, cereal, but in some cases, pasta. For some, actually, they prefer to mix it up. So we actually send them kind of a surprise packet every month. And especially based on this, we're now actually developing the next offerings that we can then also offer to other clients.
Yeah, I really like that rain, and I see it as a way to stay healthy as well. So now I bring in your consultant background and ask you more of a question that's not totally in that same lane, but still in the same area. As an entrepreneur, as a consultant, what would be your advice to someone starting a business for a first time?
So you mean a full-time business, or just thinking about starting something on the side, or?
Yeah. Starting, let's say, a full-time business, yes.
So I think actually maybe one step back. So first off, I think for those that are considering, sorry, now that I think about it, if you consider starting a business full-time, I think many people don't do it because they're afraid of heading in full-time, and I think many rightfully so. I mean, so that's the one part. And for those, I would say you can almost always find a way of just making it some side project, because obviously there's no black and white, right? I mean, so the question of whether a business is big enough to sustain your living is a completely different question of whether the business is just, can sustain itself, for example. So this is one consideration. And for all of those that are seriously going in, I think the biggest mistake I'm seeing is that people don't find customers because they're doing all kinds of other stuff. And I believe it's based on a lot of misconceptions that you need to incorporate, that you need, I don't know, something like a website, that you need to set up Instagram first, or whatever, or I don't know, find a lawyer, or get a registered trademark. I mean, they do everything except building the actual business. So if there's one word, then it's really find customers. And this is really the one thing to focus on. And I don't necessarily mean marketing, I really mean sales. I mean, find someone, and whatever idea you have, pitch it to someone that you think would be a suitable customer. I mean, for example, if it's last mile, I would say, well, find someone, which obviously you're doing, right? So I don't have to tell you, but as an example, find someone that says, yes, I need something being brought from A to B. And if you have that person, you can then worry about how to make it happen. And obviously, it needs to be realistic in some way. So if they're saying, well, I want to fly to, I don't know, Mars next week, then, don't over, basically it's always a cycle of promise something and then deliver it. And the point is, if you're somewhat comfortable that you can deliver, it's much better to first, get your customer and then worry about the very details to deliver it, because the prime mistake I see is that people worry about all the details first, never even find their first customer. So it's much better to have customers first, and then from that on, it's just iteration.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's like you say, it's customer centric. It's making sure that you can deliver exactly what you're selling. I like that advice. I like that advice. And yeah, yeah, those are the bulk of my questions, and it's something that I'm really thankful for you to joining this quick talk with us. Obviously, you're one of our first vendors from last year, right when we started. So it's always a pleasure for us to see you grow and have a part of the community. Because one of the things you mentioned being customer centric, and I see that that's how you guys are in your offering, and that's very applaudable. And one of the things we are at Last Mile is being very community centric. So your growth is something that we value in terms of what we're building here in Frankfurt is a community of vendors, drivers, and customers. And yeah, we just look forward to continuous work with you and building this together. Appreciate it. Anything else you would like to share with anyone who's, let's say, interested in helping you create the world of a better work environment from working from home and a more sustainable work environment in that case?
That's a very, very broad question. First, go ahead and build it. There's no reason your business is not going to fly. So I would say it's the biggest step is to just do something. And again, I don't mean quit your job today and then think about step 2 and 3, but just do something on the side. And if it develops, it develops. And if not, you have a nice hobby.
Perfect, Philip. I really appreciate you for your time, and yeah, look forward to seeing
Thanks.
you soon. And we'll be supporting Wilson and Oscar every step of the way.
Thanks so much for having me. Thanks, Amar.
All right,
It was a
take
pleasure.
care. Bye bye.
Bye bye.